Hi everyone, my name is Pragna Nidumolu and I am the founder of EcoTeens, an initiative that helps raise awareness of climate change and how teens can come together across the globe to do their part in making this world a greener place for them and future generations to live in. As a part of EcoTeens, we launched a podcast called The Green Stories to bring diverse perspectives on sustainability and what we all can do as global citizens to address climate change. Today we have a very special guest, Insaf Abdelmoula. She is a fifth-year medical student at UC Louvain and is concurrently involved in research within one of the leading neurosurgery departments in Brussels as a part of her medical degree. In addition to her medical pursuits, she's a dedicated climate activist. Her journey in environmental advocacy started during her early years, and she's now become a member of the Tunisian Young Climate Negotiators Group. This group comprises of impassioned youths selected by the Tunisian Ministry of Environment to support the Tunisian delegate in various capacities during the UNFCCC climate negotiations, including events like COP. Thank you for joining us today. So, just to get started with the questions, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in environmental activism?
Yeah, of course. So I think for me, I've been passionate about the environment and nature in general for really as long as I can remember. I mean, like, for instance, I remember when I was like in primary school, because I'm also passionate about drawing. When I was in primary school, there was like a competition between elementary schools, and I basically wrote like this mini comic books that's about the importance of like recycling batteries, and then I drew all of it myself and I wrote it myself, and then like my school actually won the competition because of it. So this is just to illustrate that it's a passion of mine ever since I was a kid. There was never like something that clicked, because that's usually something that people describe. For me, it's really been a passion ever since I was a kid, and I just think it's very, very important to take good care of the environment, because humans are not the center of the universe. We're actually part of it. It's just the same way that we are part of the ecosystem, and we're not separate of it. So that's regarding my passion for the environment. But then other than that, I'm someone who really, really loves nature. As you said already, I'm a medical student, and I'm also part of like you said as well, part of the Tunisian delegation during the UNFCCC negotiations. So like COP and events like that are mainly about negotiations around international climate policy. So yeah.
Oh, that's amazing, and it's inspiring too, the fact that from anywhere you can get involved in sustainability, so that's great.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
are there any specific events or experiences that motivated you to focus on sustainability and eco-friendliness?
Well, from what I recall, and it's actually a bit of a, like I don't know if the word is a funny experience, or just, like I say, an interesting experience. I remember back in 2018, there was because I'm also very involved with the Tunisian civil society, especially environmental Tunisian civil society. And back in like 2018, I believe, there was like a project conducted by the Corporation of Development. It's like a Swiss governmental agency that works on development abroad, and they wanted to break the world record for the biggest postcard that is composed of multiple postcards. And basically they wanted to collect multiple postcards from all over the world And Tunisia was part of the countries where they collected postcards, and I was part of an association that helped them collect postcards. And it was, postcards from like kids from all over the country, and they had written on the postcards their hopes and dreams and what the
Wow.
environment means to them, and what planet Earth means to them, and things like that. And we collected, honestly, I forgot how much exactly, but I believe that it was like over maybe 5,000 postcards. And so the agency, they offered to fund me to go to COP, and that was the first time that I went to COP. It was in 2019, and that was when I got first exposed to climate policy. And prior to that, I was just, a climate activist, active in my country basically, where I wanted to raise awareness, and things like that. And then when I first got exposed to climate policy, I think it changed my whole perspective on the climate crisis, and it made me realize that climate policy is very, very important. It is different from activism, it's separate, but it is very, very important. And to me, it felt like if I really wanted to make a change, then it would be by being more implicated in climate policy. And then throughout the time later on, I joined the Tunisian delegation, and now I'm really happy that I get to participate in the negotiations, represent my country, partake in the submissions that my country writes to the UNFCCC, and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
Wow. That's amazing and inspiring. I would love to be part of these initiatives too. So can you share some challenges that you faced in your environmental advocacy work and how you've overcame them?
Yeah, so challenges, I think main challenges is people not taking the issue seriously, people not taking the crisis seriously. And this takes different forms, I believe, in the global south versus the global north. And for me, it was mostly my home country, Tunisia, because I lived almost my entire life in Tunisia and moved in Brussels only like a year ago. And so I did most of my climate activism in Tunisia. And when I'm trying to raise awareness, and do some advocacy, most of what I usually hear from people is that people usually say, but this is something that does not concern us. This is like a first world problem. Like we are struggling to find jobs, we're struggling to find food, we're struggling with like more important issues. So why should we care about the environment? So this was one of the biggest issues. But of course, that in and of itself is because of lack of advocacy, because we usually tend to think of the climate crisis only as an environmental problem. Except I always like to say that the climate crisis is at its core a socioeconomic crisis, because when you look at how this crisis came to be, it's because we're using the cheapest form of energy, which is fossil fuels. And there's a lot of geopolitical stakes that come at play, and the climate crisis does affect the economy, and it does decrease the world GDP. I mean, not at the moment, but it will eventually in the future, and this is according to the World Economic Forum. And so the climate crisis is not just an environmental problem, but also a socioeconomic problem, and it takes on different aspects, and everything is really interconnected and intertwined. So really, the solution to that was just educating people more, being more patient, and making people realize how they are concerned. Because again, sometimes people think that, oh yeah, but the climate crisis is about sea turtles and polar bears, and that does not concern me. But actually, no, it's also about you. Even if that does not concern you, even if you do not care about that, but you should, but it also concerns you and affects you directly because, you know, climate change affects health, affects the economy, affects literally everything. And so the solution to that was making people realize that they are impacted more than they think. So yeah.
Definitely, that's great. And you're right. I think there should definitely be more awareness. I agree. So, in your daily life, what small eco-friendly practices do you incorporate to minimize your environmental footprint as a whole?
Mhm. So, in my daily life, uh, small practice. It's really, basic things, and it's easier than one might think. I use public transport, or I bike, um, instead of using the car. But then also, I don't have a car anyways. Of course, I try to eat local as much as possible, because when you eat food that is not local, it comes with its own carbon footprint, and it
Right.
contributes to your carbon footprint. As long as electricity, of course, I try to minimize electricity use, as in, like, I don't leave lights turned on when I'm not in the room. I know it sounds like that minuscule and small, but it's important, especially when we take into consideration that so much of the CO2 emissions are considerably coming from electricity. Because
Right.
electricity in most of the world is generated by burning fossil fuels. So when one is more considerate and cognizant about their electricity use, it's also a very good practice, I think.
Right. I agree. That's amazing. And finally, as an advocate for environmental causes, what is your
Mhm.
advice to involving young people into this movement?
Well, I think first and foremost, the youth are the ones who are concerned the most by this, because we are the future generations.
Right.
To put it quite simply, older people are gonna eventually die, and then it's gonna be us, the young people, who will be dealing with this in the future. So there is no doubt that the youth are the ones who are concerned the most about this. And so what I have to say to youth who want to be more implicated in this is, go for it. Some people might not take you seriously, but it doesn't matter. What matters is your own convictions, your own beliefs. What matters is that what you believe in, and that you believe in this cause with so much passion. Then just go for it, and especially that it is a cause that is tremendously important, I believe, not just for individuals, but for really the survival of the human race as a whole. So my advice is, go for it, be passionate, and believe in yourself. As cheesy as it sounds, but I think that's very important.
Yeah, that's amazing. And honestly, that's the advice I would definitely take when I started doing this. And that's really inspiring. So thank you so much. And thank you for joining us today. It was a pleasure to talk to you. See you in the next one.